We're going to continue learning how to rationalize denominators, but now our denominator is going to have multiple terms in it. In order to do that, we need to go back and remember one of our friends that we've learned over times past. Remember this idea about the difference of two squares? Well, what do you notice in my result here? Well, you notice that all my terms are squares. That's kind of cool because I can always square a square root, and what's left? No square root. All right, don't know what you just said, Willie, but I'll go with it. Okay, as we continue on, and as I unpack that idea, we also learned that these two terms, we call them conjugates of each other. Where I have an A plus a B, its conjugate will be A minus the B. So we're going to look for conjugates as tools to help us rationalize the denominators. So I'm looking at this term right here. I'm going to use the conjugate of the denominator to form my clever version of 1. Now, why do you say that? Well, because I remember again what's going to happen when I multiply those through. So let's watch. Let's just sit back and have an idea of what's going to happen. The numerator becomes 8 times 3 root 2 minus 4. I'm going to put that 3 root 2 minus 4 all over parentheses because I want to make sure it's this entire 8 times that entire term. What does the denominator become? Well, do you recognize this format right there? And if you do, it's first term squared. So 3 root 2 squared minus last term squared. And let's go ahead and clean that up a little bit. I'll clean up the numerator. So 8 times 3 squared, or 3 root 2, becomes 24 root 2 minus 32. The denominator, 3 root 2 times 3 root 2. 3 times 3 is 9. Root 2 times root 2 is 2. So it becomes an 18 minus 4 squared, which is a 16. Okay, 3 root 2 squared. Just back up here for a second. What happened? Well, 3 root 2 times 3 root 2 equals 3 times root 2 times root 2. 3 times 3 is a 9. Root 2 times root 2 is a 2. And it gets an 18. So that's where the 18 came from. Simplify. 24 root 2 minus 32. I'll just leave that there for now because I know I'm going to do something with it. Divided by a 2. And it looks like I could factor out a factor of 2 in both the numerator and the denominator. So let's factor out a 2 in this numerator. So this becomes 2 times 12 root 2 minus 16 all over 2. The 2's factor out. And I'm left with a 12 root 2 minus a 16. And there's my final answer. If you want, I guess I can factor out a 4 from both of those terms. So I can make an OR, so it'd be 4 times a 3 root 2 minus a 4. Both of those are simplified. Both of those are equivalent. I'm fine with either one.